Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you on all continents of our beautiful Earth, wherever you are. My name is Uschi Eid. I will be your moderator today. On behalf of the Secretariat of the Global Water Operators Partnerships Alliance, welcome to the opening ceremony of the fourth Global WOPS Congress. Today's ceremony will set the stage for 2 weeks of exchange and discussions that will provide a 360-degree view of the world of peer-to-peer support partnerships between water and sanitation operators. We are fortunate and deeply grateful to have with us several distinguished speakers from the highest level of government, from utilities, and other parts of the international water and sanitation community. Let me turn to our first speaker today. I welcome wholeheartedly Mrs. Katja Dörner, Lord Mayor of Bonn, the city which hosts the Secretariat of GWOPA. Lord Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Executive Director Sharif, Mr. Huangbo, Mr. Shahid, Excellencies, Parliamentary State Secretary Flaxbart, dear representatives of water operator partnerships around the globe, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the fourth Global WOP's Congress from Bonn, Germany's United Nations city, and host to the Global Water Operator Partnership Alliance. This year, we are looking back on 25 years of UN Bonn and 25 years of cooperation from local to global, 25 years of shaping a sustainable future. Water is and has always made the difference between life and death on our planet. The past 3 decades have unveiled a global water emergency, successfully tackling the major challenges of our time, climate crisis, loss of biodiversity, land degradation, and the management of the COVID-19 pandemic vitally depends on water. Our cities and settlements around the globe are inseparably connected to water, from the choice of location onwards. Access to clean water and sanitation are key to healthy, inclusive societies, to sustainable and circular food systems, key to leaving no one behind. Sadly, it is the poorer parts of the world's population who are not granted access to water for fair price. Sadly, it is also the poor who suffer most from a lack of sanitation and its consequences. Therefore, I commend UN Habitat for establishing GWOPA, the Water Operator Partnerships Alliance, advancing the sustainable and inclusive management of water as a public good on a global scale. The GWOPA members represent public utility providers who are mandated by and accountable to the people in their territories. With Stadtwerke Bonn, our city also has a publicly owned water provider. Our sanitation department is part of the city administration, responsible for our sewage system and plants, as well as for technical flood protection. A huge quality of local governments as water operators is their routine in balancing conflictual interests, resulting in an excellent judgment of what could work and what is needed to improve and accelerate impact, a precondition to successful water management. GWOPA offers a platform for mutual exchange, peer learning, and support. In this context, Bonn city-to-city partnerships are a fine example for the resourcefulness of local expertise. With our sister city of Cape Coast in Ghana, we have jointly restored a polluted lagoon and opened an environmental education center. On another note, Bonn is a member of the Connective Cities Network, sharing best practice amongst peers. I'm sorry. As global change is accelerating, fast learning and capacity building are key to winning the race to a livable future. Well-trained staff is crucial to water and sanitation management. Therefore, our sanitation department has developed a training kit which has been translated into several languages in cooperation with the German Association for Water and Sanitation. Also, we are proud of our innovative QR code for sanitation technology, which was rewarded with the German Environment Prize. 10 days ago, the ICLAI Daring Cities 2021, the virtual forum on cities in the climate emergency, concluded with a call for transformation. One of the sessions was hosted by the Bonn Water Network. Since 2020, this platform brings together the knowledge and expertise of academic institutions and UN organizations researching or dealing with water, including GWOPA, of course. I'm thrilled to see this new network actively engage with WOP's community and look forward to the upcoming launch of the Bonn Water Story. The successful story of Germany's United Nations cities is made of sustainability, networking and cooperation, both inside the United Nations and with the surrounding clusters of German federal institutions, academia, business and civil society. The Bonn Water Network is a fine example for this spirit, and GWOPA has an instrumental part in it. As the Urban October brings together the strands of biodiversity, climate and health in the global debates, water has to be mainstreamed in every strategy, and I hope for an energetic impulse sent by your community. Let me close by saying that Bonn is proud to host the GWOPA as part of the United Nations Bonn family and Sustainability Hub. We warmly welcome this Water Operator Partnership Congress and the message it conveys: for water, for collaboration, for people and prosperity on our precious planet. I wish your consultations utmost success and very much hope to meet you all in person on an occasion in the future, if the pandemic so allows. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for these wonderful words, Lord Mayor. And of course, we are proud and happy to get the invitation for the next time. Yeah, we will see to it. Now I would like to introduce the Dr. Maria Flachsbart, Parliamentary State Secretary to the Federal Minister for Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany. We will see a video message from her. Is the technical team prepared to show the video?
Yes.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, water is the very foundation of all life on our blue planet. And yet, 2.2 billion people live without sustainable access to safe drinking water. And 1 person in every 2 has no access to either toilet facilities or water with which to wash. And the situation is continuing to worsen due to growing population, increasing water consumption, and increasing climate change. The international community has only 9 more years until 2030, 9 years in order to achieve SDG 6 of the 2030 agenda, to ensure safe access to clean water and sanitation for all. In order to achieve this goal, we need to join forces and take concerted action right now to garner even greater political support and massively increase the funds available for investment, also with the help of the financial markets. This year's conference motto says it all: together towards sustainable water and sanitation for all. The Global Alliance and its partners stand for such concerted action and for even greater joint efforts. The Global Alliance is supporting 380 water operators partnerships with the aim of helping to improve access to water and sanitation worldwide. Some 58 million people are benefited on a daily basis. Now we must build on these achievements in order to achieve even more. First, we need to strengthen existing peer-to-peer partnerships and encourage new ones. Second, the financing of partnerships under the alliance needs to be improved. That is why market-based financing options should also be permitted. Third, furthermore, we need to generate more knowledge, then process and share it. The Global Alliance offers an ideal platform to networking and knowledge transfer. Water is life and access to safe water a human right. Therefore, let us now assume responsibility and take determined action. The future prospects of billions of people depend on our doing so. Let's make this conference a success and an inspiring exchange of ideas and information for all of us. Thank you.
I thank the Parliamentary State Secretary. And now we turn to the video message of His Excellency Mr. Abdullah Shahid, President of the 26th session of the UN General Assembly.
Excellencies, thank you for the invitation to address the 4th Global Water Operators Partnership Congress. Water is life, and access to adequate and clean water and sanitation is a basic human right. UNICEF reports that globally more than 1.42 billion people, including 450 million children, live in areas of high water vulnerability. This means that 1 in every 5 children worldwide does not have enough water to meet their everyday needs. Water extremes affected by climate already contribute to the migration and displacement of millions of people. In 80% of the households with water shortages, women and girls are responsible for water collection. This often means traveling long distances and carrying heavy loads, in some cases with a high risk of violence. The time required can pull girls out of schools and leave women with fewer options to earn an income. It is reported that women and girls around the world spend a collective 200 million hours every day collecting water. My friends, in no context is this okay. We must do better. As an advocate for gender equality, I'm encouraged to learn that women's empowerment will be discussed on the first day of the 4th Congress. Excellencies, from cities to small towns, water operators play a critical and indispensable role in providing these essential services. Support for this group, whether in access to new technologies or in skills enhancement, is crucial. Multi-stakeholder coordination and collaboration at all levels is necessary to support management and development of water and sanitation-related infrastructure and services. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate that water is a cross-cutting issue and supports the achievement of all other SDGs. Put simply, we can expect little to no progress on education, on jobs, on healthcare, or on the environment, should we not first assure that we have access to water and sanitation. I call upon the international community to support efforts to provide resources and capacity building to communities that have long been deprived of the privilege to clean water and sanitation. I thank you once again for this opportunity, and I wish you all a successful Congress. I thank you.
I thank wholeheartedly the President of the UN General Assembly, and I'm very pleased to welcome in person His Excellency Mr. Gilbert Huangbo, the Chair of UN Water, representing the UN Secretary General. Mr. Huangbo, I cannot miss this opportunity, but I have to thank you for all what you are doing in the water world as UN Water Chair. Welcome again, and you have the floor.
Microphone.
Not yet.
Microphone.
Mr. Wongbo, the microphone is not working. Please turn on the microphone.
I'm very, very sorry about that. And thank you so much for being patient.
That's fine now. Would you suggest that we call upon the next speaker and you try it then afterwards again?
No.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Well, now you are back again. Okay.
Could you hear me?
Yes, now fine.
I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for being patient with us. So thank you on behalf of all my colleagues in the UN Water family for inviting me to speak on behalf of the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The fourth Global Water Operators Partnership Congress takes place just a few weeks after the Secretary General launched our common agenda. And in this report, Secretary General Guterres was quite and is quite clear. We are at a pivotal moment. Business as usual risk a future of chaos and instability. A renewed social contract anchored in human rights is needed more than ever. Needed to guarantee the conditions for people to live a decent life. Our world needs more and better multilateralism to deal with the crisis we face and to reverse today's dangerous trends. And we need a new global deal to deliver global public good, such as sustainable water and sanitation, and address major risks. The Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance is a shining example of organizations and stakeholders working together for a common goal and the common good. And this alliance has helped transform the life of nearly 60 million people through improvement to their water services. However, we are currently off track to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 6 to ensure sustainable water and sanitation for all by 2030. The good news is that we know what we need to do. And the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework, anchored in the decade of action to deliver the SDGs, show us how to do it. So the Alliance speaks directly to three pillars of the framework: capacity development, innovation, and governance. So on behalf of the SG and the UN Water family, I would like to encourage Alliance members to scale up their work at unprecedented speed to form new partnerships to ensure water is everyone's business. Achieving SDG 6 will rely on large parts on the effectiveness of water operators, particularly in rapidly growing towns and cities. Excellencies, the next milestone is the UN 2023 Water Conference, the midway point of the International Decade for Action on Water for Sustainable Development. And this will be a watershed moment of accountability for all of us. So let us ensure that in less than 2 years' time, we can say that progress toward SDG 6 is firmly on track. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Huangbo, Chair of UN Water, and thank you for stressing again scaling up and acceleration. That is what is needed. Now let me turn to Dr. Hugo Isaac, International Coordinator of Urban Projects in Mexico, on behalf of Her Excellency Mrs. Marta Delgado Peralta. She's the President of the UN Habitat Assembly. And Mexico, together with Mauritius, are co-chairs or were co-chairs of the high-level panel on water between 2016 and 2018. Mr. Dr. Isaac, you have the floor. Did you hear me, Dr. Isaac? You have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm distinguished and a participant of the World Congress of Association of Water Operators. Valued audience and the participant in this edition of the World Congress of Association. Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello, hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Yes, hello.
I appreciate the time and distinguished participants of the World Congress Association of Water Operators. Valued audience and participation in this edition of the World Congress of Association of Water Operators. To excellence present, whom I have the pleasure of accompanying today. On behalf of Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard, the Secretary of Foreign Relations of Mexico, the Undersecretary of Foreign Relations, Multilateral Affairs and Human Rights, the PhD Master Degree, Master Marta Delgado, in her capacity as President of the United Habitat Assembly, and the PhD Rodolfo Osorio Carrera in the General Director of Relations with Civil Society Organization and representing the government of Mexico. It is an honor for me to speak on your behalf, and I thank you all your more consideration. The last decade has been characterized by significant advance in science and technologies around sustainability. Also, on the present international cooperation, which has focused on the Sustainable Development Goals. Cities around the world have begun to take the various approaches to change the territories and to create better opportunities for the populations. Water scarcity affects more than 40% of the world's population. The leads all the global efforts in public policies to meet the development goals of the 2030 Agenda in order to guarantee safer, more inclusive, more resilient, and opportunity generation space for all people. International cooperation is vital to achieve the universal and equality access to drinking water. The Congress provides a unique space for the exchange of information, the identification of the good practices, and more importantly, the formulation of the specific lines of action of each of your context and territories. And city with enough water is a prosperous city. The management of public policies will be the mechanisms, the traceability of supplies and savings. Let's make more city with less water use. Everyone's mission and vision to prosper as a species and the trust for the future for the generations. On behalf of my country and the forever Minister Marcelo Delgado and the Undersecretary Marta Delgado, thank you very much your valuable time and attention. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Ushi, your microphone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isaac. Now we are making a big journey from Mexico to the African continent. And I call upon Honorary Anna Shiveda, Deputy Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform of the Republic of Namibia, who will address us on behalf of Honorary Minister Karl Hermann Gustav Schlettwein, President of MCOW. Madam Deputy Minister, you have the floor. Turn on your microphone, please. Okay, yeah, now it's fine.
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's fine. Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Excellencies, honorable parliamentarians present, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and privilege to be able to deliver a statement at the 4th Global Water Operators Partnership Congress as the President of the African Ministers' Council on Water. The timing of this Congress is befitting as it is being held just before the 8th Africa Water Week, which will bring stakeholders from Africa and other continents to discuss the status of water and sanitation challenges and opportunities in the continent. As you may be aware, AMCOM is committed to accelerate the contribution towards the achievement of global and continental objectives on water and sanitation, as stipulated in the Sustainable Development Goals of Agenda 2063 of the African Union. In this regard, allow me to highlight the progress made so far towards the implementation of sanitation and hygiene pillar. It is important to mention that access to adequate sanitation and hygiene is still a huge challenge to many millions of people across the African continent. For this reason, AMCOW developed and launched the African Sanitation Policy Guidelines. The overall purpose of the African Sanitation Policy Guideline is to provide Africa governments guidance for enhancing or developing clear and comprehensive sanitation policies to transform the sanitation enabling environment of the African continent. Excellencies, to this end, AMCOW finalized the ASP's rollout strategy, and I urge all member states to fill the African Sanitation Policy Guidelines demand form currently on the website of AMCOW. This will enable the AMCOW Secretariat to follow up and plan the necessary support packages with you. The Secretariat had also established the policy coordination and engagement platform to bring together stakeholders that will be involved in the African Sanitation Policy Guideline implementation for effective monitoring and reporting. We encourage all partners in the front of supporting the implementation of these guidelines to join in. To this end, please join me to congratulate the Republic of Kenya and the Kenya Ministry of Water and Sanitation and Irrigation for being the first country in Africa to use these guidelines for the development of the Kenyan National Sanitation Management Policies. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me also mention that the government of the Republic of Namibia has given priority to water and sanitation as a strategy to eradicate poverty and accelerate economic growth in line with Sustainable Development Goals number 6 of the UN, which advocates ensuring availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. The water and sanitation sectors have been prioritized and enshrine as key strategic areas in all high-level national policies and development plans. Let me conclude by stating that these networks of activities at both continental and national level are aimed at ensuring the availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Minister from Namibia. And now we cross the continent and go to Mauritius. I would like to welcome Mr. Georges-Pierre Legengard, Minister of Energy and Public Utilities, who will speak on behalf of the President of the Republic of Mauritius. Mr. Legengard, you have the floor. Mr. Legengard, are you with us? You have to turn on the microphone. Your micro is muted. Now it's off. Thank you.
It's okay, Madam?
Yes, fine.
Yes, thank you for giving me the floor. Excellencies, distinguished members, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great privilege and pleasure for me to address the 4th Global Water Operators Partnership Congress on behalf of the Republic of Mauritius. First and foremost, allow me to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Under Secretary General and Executive Director of the UN Habitat for having offered the Republic of Mauritius the opportunity to participate in this event and thus contribute to the collective efforts that lead to safe water and sanitation for all. Water use has been growing globally at more than twice the rate of population increase in the last century. The increasing pressure on available water resources is evident. According to the UN World Water Development Report 2021, over 2 billion people already lived in water-stressed areas. Some 3.4 billion people, around 45% of the global population, lack access to safely managed sanitation facilities. Moreover, according to independent assessments, the world will face a global water deficit of 40% by 2030. This situation will be worsened by global challenges such as COVID-19 and climate change. The situation in the African continent is no exception, as water security is already a major challenge. However, the scale and impact of the crisis today is unprecedented, especially as the survival of children is at stake due to lack of access to safely managed drinking water services and basic sanitation. This situation is expected to aggravate with the forecast growth in Africa's total population, which is expected to reach nearly 2.5 billion by 2050, with almost half living in cities, hence further pushing up water demand. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of the African continent, and at the same time being a small island developing state, Mauritius has been very sensitive to this situation. We responded by actively participating as co-chair of the high-level panel on water set up by the UN and the World Bank Group, a panel that brought together 11 heads of states. The high-level panel released its report in 2018 and proposed a new agenda for water action. It urged for a new approach. First, by rethinking how we understand value and manage water as a precious resource, and by catalyzing change and building partnerships to achieve the water-related goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The panel further recommended a decade of urgent action, including policies to at least double the water infrastructure investments in the next 5 years, and an inclusive approach, and more importantly, giving the due value to water, making every drop count. It is worth to highlight that the report found that women and girls suffer disproportionately when water and sanitation are lacking, affecting health and often restricting work and education opportunities. And it is important that we dedicate adequate time and effort to redress the situation. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say a few words on the Mauritius experience and our challenges. As it sits, we are even more vulnerable to the vagaries of climate change. Mauritius cannot afford to observe a status quo strategy and manage its water sector under a business as usual scenario. Building a resilient future for the island in terms of water security is one of the prime objectives of the government. A water secure society necessarily entails crafting a clear integrated strategy within a sound policy framework with sustained concrete actions over the short, medium, and long term. The strategies adopted are within the overarching framework of the SDG 6. Further, this integrated approach takes into consideration the involvement of both women and men in the management of water and sanitation in the country. As such, gender mainstreaming is being undertaken in the water sector. Though 99.6% of households have access to tap water in Mauritius, the island experiences seasonal water scarcity. The government is investing massively in water infrastructural projects, such as construction of new dams and pipe replacement to reduce water losses and increase water use efficiency. Water losses and the high percentage of non-revenue water remain one of our major challenges. We are endeavoring to mobilize assistance to embrace the latest technologies such as Internet of Things, telemetry and automation, as well as smart metering system, so as to ensure sustainable, clean, safe, and fair supply of water. In parallel, Mauritius is implementing water conservation measures among the population to reduce the dependency on the potable water supply and adopting climate change adaptation measures. It has been the stated policy that treated water would, as far as possible, only be used for potable uses. As such, treated effluent is being reused for irrigation purposes by hotels in the coastal regions for irrigation. Also, some hotels have set up desalination plants to meet their increasing demands, particularly in the dry spell. We are also abstracting and treating river and lake waters so as to reduce the runoffs to the sea. Additionally, water and sanitation provision is being given due consideration. The level of the coverage by sewer networks is being increased in order to safeguard the environment and preserve the quality of our groundwater resources. Ladies and gentlemen, effective coordination and partnership among institutions and sound policies will help governments achieve the water sector objectives for a sustainable development path. We need comprehensive knowledge and capacities in dealing with mobilization and management of water, research, innovation, and latest technologies in addressing the challenges are called for. Mobilization of adequate financing for development institutions as well as regional and international partners will support the integrated water management plans developed by several countries. Addressing the looming water crisis amidst climate change across the world will, to a great extent, dictate the fate of our future. water as a connector to all social, economic, and environmental aspects of life is at the core of sustainable development. I will conclude by referring to an old African proverb which says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Let us therefore join hands for a sustainable water world of tomorrow where no one is left behind. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Lejongar. And also thank you for reminding us of the recommendations laid out in the report of the high-level panel on water, of which Mauritius and Mexico were the co-chairs. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Now,
Madam.
let me turn to the video message by His Royal Highness Prince El Hassan bin Talal of Jordan. The Prince served as chair of UNSGAP from 2013 to 2014.
My sister.
Is the technical
Mona Mohammed Sharif, on the Secretary and Executive Director of the UN Human Settlements Program. I would like to thank you for the very word settlements, which to my lexicon means habitat, means ecosphere, means sociosphere. And I would emphasize that ensuring safe access to water, sanitation, and hygiene is a holistic attempt, particularly after the corona pandemic and the derailing of the relevant SDGs. Water, after all, and I quote the late Kofi Annan, is a fundamental human need and therefore is a basic human right. A violation of human rights is therefore not only legal but existential. And I would like to point out that the pandemic, which was brought to remind us, I feel, of the importance of not only Anthropocene, the livelihood and the good livelihood of humanity on this planet, but also of Humilocene, the modesty of implementing policies by those who are responsible for answering the most prominent questions. One in 10 people across the world and some 800 million people lack access to safe water supplies. What are we doing about it? Access to safe water, sanitation, and hygiene services is literally a question of life and death, and it is a security question. Human dignity is a security question. We have to work for something and not always against terror. The terrorizing of humble populations has to be readdressed in terms of an anthroportal, whereby we all begin to think about reconfiguring our priorities, human dignity, and moving from humiliation to that human dignity we seek should be our task in the coming decade.
I thank Prince El Hassan bin Talal of Jordan for his video message. And now I invite Her Excellency Mrs. Fatima Maada Bio, First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone and Africa Champion for Sanitation and Hygiene. She sent to us a video message.
My name is Fatima Madabio. I am the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone and the African Champion for Hygiene and Sanitation. For far too long, we have ignored the importance of sanitation in Africa. For far too long, we are pretending as if this is not an issue. But I know in the 21st century, sanitation should be everyone's priority, and everyone should look into this problem and deal with it now before it is too late. To have a sanitized environment means that we're saving our children, we're saving our environment, and we're saving women's lives. And as the African champion for sanitation, I'm urging all government to look into this issue and make it priority. To have a clean environment and to have the right things that we use as sanitation for Africa is important. Let us think about malaria. Let us think about all the diseases that we have in Africa and ask ourselves, is this the kind of life Africa we want to live? As your champion for sanitation, I'm asking government, policymakers, the international organizations that are the ones that deal with all of these issues, to not only be campaigning for sanitation for Africa, but make it as a paramount importance into everything that we do. We need to ask our governments to make sanitation as part of the first 5 of their priorities in all policies in our countries. Our children are suffering. The AMCAO is working tirelessly to put policies that are right for our children, that are right for our women in place, and present it to head of states and governments with the hope that they will look at these policies and implement them. I'm hoping that government will see AMCAO not just as an institution, but as partners that want to see a greater change to our world. Africa is part of the world continent. Africa is a very important continent in the world. And I'm asking all our leaders to treat this matter as a matter of urgency. I'm asking our leaders to see sanitation as priority in their list. And I'm asking our people, the ordinary people, including myself, to look at sanitation with a different lens and work and do the right thing for our children, for our world, for our continent. Again, it is an honor to address you at this summit today, and I'm hoping that by the time we leave this summit, our mindset would have changed. We would have changed our mindset and look at things differently. Sanitation is not about just washing your clothes and cleaning yourself and dress nice. Sanitation is about cleaning your environment. Sanitation is about making your environment healthy. Our school children are going to school in an environment where they don't have toilets. Our school children are going to school in an environment where when they see their menstruation, they don't know what to do. Our school children are in an environment that I believe is not safe for them. And if we're trying to build a continent that is worthy of saying that we are part of this world, if we're trying to build a continent that is as important as Africa, we have to look at our environment, we have to look at our sanitation issues, and we have to find a solution to our sanitation problems. Us in AMCAO, we believe that if government work with us, we'll be able to help them do the right thing. We believe that if government implement our policies in AMCAO, we will help them understand and we will be able to direct them the right way. So we're asking African head of states to see us as partners. We're asking African head of states to see us as viable partners in this fight in making our continent a clean, healthy continent for all. I want to thank you all so very much for attending this summit, and I hope and pray that by the time we leave this summit, we will start with the small ways that we think we can in contributing to our healthy, positive, clean, and safe environment for all. Thank you so very much.
I thank the First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and I thank her also for her dedication to the sanitation and hygiene cause. Now we are coming to the official opening of the meeting, and I have the honor to invite now Her Excellency Mrs. Maimouna Mohd Sharif, Executive Director of UN Habitat and Chair of the GWOPA International Steering Committee. Thank you, Madam, for officially opening this Congress, and you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Thank you so much, Your Excellency Georges Pierre Les Jongat, Minister of Energy and Public Utilities of the Republic of Mauritius, Mr. Gilbert Humbo, Chair of UN Water, Honorable Cachadronas, Mayor of Bond, Dr. Hugo Isaac, International Coordinator of Urban Projects in Mexico, and representative of Her Excellency Madam Marta Delgado Peralta, President of the UN Habitat Assembly, Excellencies, utility representative, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon from Nairobi, and maybe good morning and good evening to all of you wherever you are. So it is give me a very great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 4th Global Water Operators Partnership, or WOP's Congress. This event is full of significance for our common efforts to ensure sustainable water and sanitation services for all. I'm very happy to say that the Global WOPS, a Water Operators Partnerships Alliance, is again reignited as a significant movement to support operators to provide improved services in our cities and towns around the globe. The world needs broad-based multilateral partnership to enable effective action in our globalized world. As we work to implement the new urban agenda and achieve the SDGs, it is key to support public service providers to safeguard our health, well-being, and natural environment. UN Habitat Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance, or GWOPA, demonstrates the kinds of cooperation of world leaders and the world needs, convening a growing number of more than 500 partners and utilities to strengthen water and sanitation services around the world. I also would like to thank the federal government of Germany for their generous support, which is enabling our alliance to become even stronger. As the UN celebrates 25th year of presence in Bonn, GWOPA is proud to be a member of this important campus. Excellencies, with 60% of the world population projected to live in urban areas by 2030, we need to rethink the way we plan, the way we build, and the way we manage our urban spaces. This is not an option, but an imperative. UN Habitat is steadfast in its commitment to support local authorities, city leaders, and water and sanitation operators to provide sustainable services. We must recognize that local action is the basic building block of global change. This urban October, cities and towns are facing the dual crisis of COVID-19 and climate change. As stated by the UN Secretary General, economic plans to recover from the pandemic offer a critical opportunity to put climate action, renewable energy at the heart of the city's strategies and policies. So water and sanitation operators are critical actors in the enormous challenge to ensure net zero emission by 2050 and achieve resilience to an increasing number of intense climate-related disasters. And ultimately, I think we need visionary leadership. Please allow me to acknowledge and thank His Royal Highness Prince El Hassan bin Talal of Jordan, Excellency Pri Vita Singh Rupun, President of Republic of Mauritius, and Excellency Madam Fatima Maada Bayo, First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, for their continued support to multilateral cooperation on water and sanitation. It is the leaders' sense of urgency, that their ability to translate vision into action that will ensure that we can transform our current challenges into opportunities for sustainable development. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, from this Congress to the next one, I would like to see clear steps forward and actions on the ground. Let us take up this opportunity to be different and bold, making it clear what we want to achieve and how to translate our ideas into activities with impact. So structured peer support partnership within water and sanitation operators can fill critical gaps and share solutions. And importantly, I must thank the new donors that have recognized the potential of locally based peer support partnership. The Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany, the European Commission, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations. So I also would like to thank all other ongoing supporters, the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Abu Dhabi Department of Energy, the OPEC Fund for International Development, the Government of Spain, regional banks, and other development cooperation agencies. They are a signal that water operators partnerships are relevant and influential to achieve current global agendas and meet utilities' evolving challenges. Our destination is clear: clean and sustainable water and sanitation for all. As we implement the next 2 years of GWAPA strategy, I count on your support to take the alliance to its next level and invite your partner operators and supporters to join. So together, let us go beyond merely advocating for a better future and do all we can to ensure no one and no place is left behind. So I wish all of you fruitful weeks of exchange and discussion. In my capacity as a chair of the GWAPA International Steering Committee, it is my pleasure to officially declare the Congress open, and let us have a cleaner, greener, safer, healthier, and happier environment. Thank you so much. Over to you, Madam Moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your opening statement and for your encouragement, for your dedication. We are greatly impressed with your ownership and dedication to supporting water and sanitation operators worldwide. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after the Congress is officially opened by Her Excellency Maimouna Mod Sharif, we turn now swiftly to the next segment of our program for today, to the high-level substantive segment. And I have the great pleasure of inviting now Mr. Pedro Arroyo Agudo, Special Rapporteur on the human right to water and sanitation. He was appointed in September 2020 by the Human Rights Council to this very important post. Mr. Arroyo Agudo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you for this invitation, for this great honor, and for the attention you give me. Well, as I explained in my first thematic report recently presented to the Human Rights Council in Geneva, we are facing a crisis as serious as it is paradoxical: the global water crisis on the water planet, the blue planet. With those 2.2 billion people without guaranteed access to safe drinking water, and those 4.2 billion without basic sanitation. Billions of people who have in common living in extreme poverty. The vast majority of them are impoverished people living next to rivers and aquifers polluted, often with toxins. Placing the focus on the global crisis in this way allows us to identify and clarify the roots of this crisis and better understand the nature the very nature of the challenge we face. The roots, from my point of view, of this crisis lie at the confluence of two major critical structural flaws. The structural flaw of poverty, inequality, and marginalization, on the one hand, and the structural flaw of unsustainability in our aquatic ecosystems, on the other hand. We have, in fact, transformed water, the key to life, into the most terrible vector of disease and death ever known. As for the nature of the challenges itself, understanding this crisis as a business space is, in my view, a grave mistake. Because these billions of people do not offer a business space. In my view, we face a global democratic challenge that needs to be managed and secured at the local level on two fronts. On the one hand, making peace with the rivers and aquifers from which these billions of people draw their daily water supply. And with another reason, under this approach, we will find the most cost-effective options. And on the other hand, assuming the priority of drinking water and sanitation as human rights. Sustainability and priority, the two keys. To bring these two keys, to the lines to the various territories, towns, and cities requires, from my point of view, strengthen public accountability and the capacity of local and community institutions in the management of water and sanitation services, with a special focus on rural areas. Therefore, strengthening the financial and technical capacities of local operators, while also recognizing and supporting community-based services where they exist. For another question, promote interinstitutional collaboration between local and supramunicipal institutions and collaboration between public operators. Another issue, promote women's participation and leadership in water and sanitation management as key actors and powerful promoters of these human rights. And finally, empower local operators in the monitoring and management of aquatic ecosystems with the support, of course, of the state at sub-basin and basin levels. After the ordeal we are going through with the pandemic, the consensus on the need to strengthen our public health systems is general. A consensus that demands significant public investment, not for profit, in order to leave no one behind. And that consensus and that approach must extend to water and sanitation services as a cornerstone of public health. Unlike in 2008, when the so-called austerity strategy was imposed on us, today the strategy for dealing with the pandemic and the post-pandemic is very, very different. Significant public funds are now available to promote the Green New Deal of the 21st century. In short, it is a matter of understanding and clearly assuming the true nature of the challenge we need to face, which, and I insist, it is a global democratic challenge. And on this basis, to bring the approach to territories, towns, and cities implies promoting lines of public funding and collaboration with municipalities and also with community authorities, especially in rural areas, with a special emphasis on promoting women's participation and leadership. If we are to accelerate the achievement of SDGs, let us take political responsibility for meeting this democratic challenge, and on the on the other side, empower those who are most interested and effectively engaged in these challenges on a daily basis. Women, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arroyo Agudo, for this igniting talk. It's always a pleasure to listen to your suggestions. Now I turn to David Boyce, Deputy Secretary General in Public Services International, and a member of the Advisory Board on Water and Sanitation to the Secretary General, where we were colleagues together. Nice seeing you again, David. He was, so to say, in our advisory board, the spiritus rector of GIVOPA. And I'm very curious, David, to listen to you when you tell us about the journey of GIVOPA. David, you have the floor.
Thank you, Uschi. I'm very interested to have your reaction when I do say what you and I and a dozen other people traveled together as we sought to address the Millennium Development Goals. So we've got to take a step back in time. But first, let me just say, I feel a little bit challenged speaking after Maimuña and Pedro, who did such a great job. But I'll try to do my best to impart some of our history and to point to ways forward. So I'll take you back to 2006. In 2006, at our first meeting of Kofi Annan's advisory board, known as UNSCAB, the Washington Consensus was in full swing. It meant privatization, public austerity budgets, shrinking the role of the state to that of enabler of the market, which was seen to be superior in almost all things. It meant long supply chains and delocalizing manufacturing and services to the areas with lowest standards in labor, in environment, in corporate taxation and regulation. At our first meeting of UNSCAB, a number of us challenged a privatization mandate written into the board's terms of reference. Back then, it was known as public-private partnerships, but same difference. Our main point was, even if you give all of the money to the private water and sanitation operators, and there weren't that many back then, they won't be able to be in enough places all the time to make a big difference at the global level in meeting the MDGs, in ensuring universal access and meeting the needs of the poorest communities. Rather than supporting the privateers, we said, who already have lots of marketing tools and good access to governments and the international financial institutions, we said we need to devise a global mechanism to initiate, facilitate, and support collaboration among the thousands upon thousands of public, largely municipal water and sanitation operators. The key obstacle for us back then and for now is that the majority of public operators are limited by law to their geopolitical boundaries. They're not allowed to spend money or undertake activities outside of their mandated operation areas. As well, these public utilities don't engage much in global politics. For example, within the World Bank, with the MDGs, again, remember, we're in 2006. Most of the public utilities operators see their job, and saw them back then, as largely technical. And the politics belong to the mayors or other elected officials somewhere outside of their facilities. Yet these operators have hundreds of thousands of staff at all levels of skill and competence. So our proposal was to build a mechanism under the UN to enable public operators to support each other, where the strong help the weak, where there is cross-fertilization of expertise and experience to make all utilities stronger. Understanding that one of the keys to improving performance is to ensure that the workers at all levels, from top management to manual workers, have the tools and training, as well as the conditions of decent work as defined by the ILO, to do their jobs well, whether it's long-term planning of the utilities priorities or the ability to help users in the community resolve problems. UN Habitat was the right choice for hosting GWAPA, as it is the agency most closely linked to mayors, to cities, where more than half of humanity lives. The alliance that was built, which is today celebrating its 4th Global Congress, is built around public operators. They are the lead, but they're not the only partners. The alliance recognizes that water and sanitation are of concern to all segments of society. As such, the alliance welcomes a diversity of participants and supporters, including academic institutions, NGOs and community-based organizations, workers and trade unions, development partners, private operators, water cooperatives, and more. All actors who are committed to implementing water operator partnerships on a not-for-profit, non-commercial basis. The mandate that Kofi Annan assigned to UN Habitat still stands, and a lot remains to be fulfilled. I think the concept is as relevant now as all those years ago, if not more so, what with the challenges on the SDGs and with climate change. I think the COVID pandemic and the climate crisis show us that we need to urgently revisit and reform the Washington Consensus, because we need stronger quality public services, accessible to all, and able to anticipate the challenges we face. Services that are based on social and environmental needs, not on short-term profit maximization. Access to water and sanitation is one of the key elements in enabling life with dignity, in advancing gender equity, and in meeting so many of the other SDGs. So the fundamentals haven't changed. Public operators must deliver reliable and safe services to all. Staff is the key. Their skills are what counts. Ability to make long-term plans for the utility, to show how social and environmental priorities will be met. Long-term planning and effective implementation are the two cornerstones. Finance follows. Finance shouldn't lead on delivering universal access to quality public services. However, our initial challenges remain. Public municipal operators don't have enough global champions, and there isn't enough money. The current policy approach that public subsidies will attract private finance, they aren't working. We need more public funds. So the lessons we have learned over the years are invaluable. We'll hear many lessons over the next 10 days. And if I may, I want to especially thank the staff and leadership of UN Habitat for their perseverance and dedication, the government of Germany for its support in hosting GWAPA, and all of the allies that are walking this long walk with GWAPA. And I want to invite more partners to join us from all regions. But I especially want to thank the public utilities that are giving their time to this project, that are taking some risks on building partnerships. They're innovating both at home and with their partners. But our time is short, our challenge is increasing, so let's get on with the important work we're doing. Thank you all.
David, thank you so much. And it proves again that it was right that you convinced the UNSCAP members to help to establish GWOPA. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our opening ceremony would not be complete without hearing from those who are the centerpiece of the Global WAPS Alliance, Public Water and Sanitation Operators. I now have the pleasure of giving the floor to three distinguished utility representatives from Latin America, Africa, and Asia, who will address the Congress. We have asked them to speak to us about two key questions. What key action are your utility taking to implement SDG 6? And second, how could Water Operators Partnership help address your most important challenges in the years ahead. I would like first to call upon Mrs. Christina Zufo, Director of Research, Technological Development and Innovation at SABESP in Brazil. Mrs. Zufo, you have the floor.
Thank you for your questions. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here to exchange experiences that benefit the water and sanitation sector, a sector so important that it directly affects the quality of human lives. As everyone may have heard, here in Brazil, there is a huge shortage to serve this entire population with quality water and sanitation. The metropolitan region of São Paulo, we currently 100% of our customers with drinking water, but our challenge is to achieve the same goal for sewage collection and treatment. For this, the company has programs for the implementation of basic infrastructure, always associated by social actions and environmental education, as the Tietê project, the Pinheiros New River program, and the Clean Wave program in the coastal region. It's very important to highlight that to achieve these goals, we needed to use the best traditional solutions, but also creative solutions and totally unconventional techniques, especially in needy communities. Another important point is the use of the circular economy concept, which can and should be used in all sanitation processes. An example at SABESP is the application in sewage treatment plants. We also have a large water loss reduction program, a stronger work on energy efficiency with photovoltaic plants, and support for needy communities in water scarcity events, such as our social tariffs or the donation of household water reservoirs. In addition, we have a wide use of innovations, for example, digital commercial and financial systems, or biogas from sewage used in cars. Regarding to second question, I'm from the innovation area, and I know the importance of exchanging experiences to increase and have faster access to technologies and best practices. At SABESP, you use the open innovation model, which consists of strong interaction and formation of partnerships with actors in the water and sanitation chain, or even external actors. I believe that WAP creates a rich network of experts and operators, forming a huge ecosystem that accelerates improvements in processes, products, and services, with innovative technologies and best practices for the water and sanitation sector. I'm going to finish my talk, and I would like to take this opportunity to share my thoughts. Why start from scratch? Think about this for a moment. I believe that the answer in this WAP, where we can short pass through the intense exchange of experience, reaching the water and sanitation goals much faster, benefiting human lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Zufo. And now I turn to Mr. Frédéric Caboret, Directeur général de l'Office national de l'eau et de l'assainissement, ONA, of Burkina Faso. Mr. Caboret, you have the floor.
Bonjour, madame. Bonjour.
Bonjour, we hear you. We can hear you, yes.
Bonjour, madame. Merci, madame, et merci à tous. Nous avons suivi avec intérêt les interventions passées. Donc, nous avons deux questions. La question est une. Quelles sont les actions clés que vos sociétés mènent pour contribuer à l'atteinte des ODD, donc le 6? Il faut dire que l'accès à l'eau et à l'assainissement représente un combat quotidien pour la plupart des pays du monde. Et nous, Burkina Faso, en particulier, pays du Sud, on est concerné par cette problématique. Et le gouvernement du Burkina Faso, conscient du fait que le développement passe par un accès adéquat des populations à l'eau et à l'assainissement, a intégré une composante eau et assainissement dans le plan national de développement économique et social, c'est-à-dire le PNDS2, pour la réduction de la situation zéro poids d'eau du président du Faso. L'ONEA, comme vous le savez, est responsable des volets pour l'assainissement en milieu urbain. Et en cohérence avec donc, cette vision, nous travaillons à accroître le taux d'accès à l'eau dans notre périmètre, qui couvre actuellement 59 centres, et également augmenter le nombre de villes couvertes. Les projets structurants de l'ONEA s'inscrivent dans le cadre de la stratégie développée en vue d'atteindre les objectifs du développement durable. Ils concourent à la réalisation de 2 axes de nos stratégies, c'est-à-dire de un plan stratégique qui a 5 axes, dont 2 concernent donc renforcer les installations pour les maintenir en adéquation avec la demande à des villes déjà équipées. Et le deuxième, optimiser l'exploitation du service et maîtriser les charges qui appelleront à l'amélioration du rendement des installations. Nous avons structuré nos actions clés en projets et programmes durables. Nous pouvons citer entre autres le programme national d'approvisionnement en eau potable et assainissement, PNAEP, qui prévoit notamment la création de centres secondaires et de centres de production d'eau, c'est-à-dire au lieu d'avoir des centres autonomes à partir des forages dont la ressource de Tari régulièrement, nous créons des grands centres de production d'eau à partir des eaux de surface qui vont permettre d'alimenter plusieurs villes à la fois. Et pour le volet assainissement, il y a un programme national de l'assainissement des eaux plusieurs spectacles, le PNAIE, avec des projets de construction de stations de traitement de coûts de vidange dans les principales villes et aussi la promotion de l'assainissement au niveau de grandes villes. Concernant la question de comment est-ce que les partenariats entre opérateurs d'eau et d'assainissement peuvent contribuer à relever certains de nos défis importants au cours des années à venir, il faut dire que de façon générale, l'un des points forts des relations de partenariat entre sociétés d'eau et d'assainissement reste sans doute les partages d'expérience entre acteurs. Face à nos défis majeurs qui vont du renforcement de la gouvernance à la mobilisation des financements en passant par l'amélioration de la qualité de l'eau et la réduction sensible des pertes d'eau, la formation, l'assainissement et ainsi de suite, chaque opérateur doit exploiter toutes les possibilités et opportunités qu'offrent les partenariats. En situation professionnelle, l'un des meilleurs moyens pour faire bouger les lignes et accroître de façon significative les compétences et l'apprentissage auprès des pairs. Et les initiateurs du WOP ont permis de saisir toute l'importance et la part de cette approche. Le partage d'expérience doit être ainsi une courroie de transmission permettant l'amélioration des performances. Il est indispensable que cette approche soit intégrée dans les politiques nationales de développement du secteur et soutenue par les gouvernants. Les opérateurs devront ensuite mettre en place les outils de facilitation de la mise en œuvre de ces partenariats, notamment les plans d'action, en veillant à avoir une adhésion des acteurs internes, en travaillant à fluidifier les flux d'informations et en organisant les benchmarking et renforcer le mentorat. Nous saluons à ce titre OPA, qui est le facilitateur au niveau mondial, l'AE comme facilitateur au niveau africain. L'ONEA, pour sa part, joue le rôle de mentor pour beaucoup de sociétés d'eau dans les domaines de la qualité de l'eau et de la réduction de l'eau non facturée. Cependant, dans sa dynamique de recherche de l'amélioration continue, l'ONEA entretient des partenariats avec des sociétés comme l'ONU du Maroc et l'IWA pour certains besoins spécifiques. L'ONEA aujourd'hui considère comme une société de référence dans la sous-région ouest-africaine en matière de services d'AEPA, se doit de mettre tout en œuvre pour conserver et exploiter cette place de choix et par conséquent, mettre les moyens qu'il faut pour améliorer sa gouvernance devient un impératif. Mesdames et messieurs, merci pour votre aimable attention.
Monsieur Traoré, merci bien pour votre discours. And I turn now to Mr. Dwight Riantara, Managing Director of Tirta Mayang, a public water utility in Jambi City in Sumatra Island, Indonesia. Mr. Riantara, you have the floor.
Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to talk about the solidarity spirit, but prior to that, as we understand, to provide access to water and sanitation for the people as a human rights is the responsibility of every government in every country. Water operators are the hands of the government to do the task of these essential services. In Indonesia, we have 450 water operators struggling to cope with the common challenges such as lack of financing capability, difficulties in building the institutional capacity, as well as human resources, the constraints in promoting good water governance, implementing smart technology, raising the service coverage with the population growth and urbanization, and so on. A lack of institutional and human capacity across the water sector is constraining progress, particularly in developing countries like Indonesia. One of the best ways to address these challenges is through partnerships, all kinds of partnerships, including water operators partnerships. The act of helping one another has been around in the water sector since a long time ago. In my country, among water operators, we have been performing this kind of helping one another long before we get introduced to what's so-called now water operators partnerships. There's a core value that we recognize as solidarity. The key message I would like to convey to the GWOPA Congress today is the importance of strengthening the solidarity spirit among water operators. We are talking about the kindness, generosity, and willingness to help others. This is the principle of partnership. How could we organize a water operators partnerships without solidarity spirit? We spend our time and efforts to help others without getting paid because we care, because we want other people also to improve and to make progress, because we want to make our world a better place. We want to be happy together and celebrate the achievements. We want nobody left behind. The solidarity spirit should be introduced, promoted, and inherited from generation to generation, especially to young water professionals, so that we will be able to keep the solidarity spirit for good. If we want to help one another, let's just do it. The WOPs should not always depend on the availability of funding from donors or facilitators. I repeat, the WOPs should not always depend on the availability of funding from donors or facilitators. Let's just do it. And yes, together we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Riantara, and thank you for stressing the solidarity spirit. I thank Mrs. Zufo, Mr. Cabore, and you, Mr. Riantara, for sharing with us your experiences. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now give the floor to Mr. André Tsikus, Chief of the Urban Basic Services section of UN Habitat. He will provide us with a presentation of the state of WOPs in 2021. I think I don't have to introduce Mr. André Tsikus because he has been working for almost 30 years with UN Habitat, and he managed big programs and projects in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So many of us must have already met you. Please, André, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Oshi. I hope I can be seen, and I hope the screen can also be seen. Could you just confirm, because this is a new platform we're using?
Yes.
You can see the PowerPoint also?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's see. Share, okay. This is a new system, so sorry, it's not showing, Lars. If you could please help me on this. I'm very sorry about that.
Where is the technical support team?
So, okay, great. So it's, yeah, thanks a lot. Let me, dear Oshi, dear distinguished delegates and dignitaries, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. And My role in this August event is to share with you some of the work which the team has been doing very tirelessly on the State of WOPs report, which the team has prepared for the purpose of this Congress. This report actually reviews the current state of the global efforts to implement WOPs as a model for capacity development and to enhance performance and sustainability of water and sanitation utilities. This report is actually based on the GWOPR database, which has the work of all the members reflected in this database. And of course, you've already heard the story of WOPs from David going back to 2006, 2007, so I don't really have to dwell on this. But the most important element of this philosophy is that this is really a not-for-profit partnerships bringing together, the different sanitation operators to strengthen their capacity and sustainability. And of course, last but not least, really to serve the people. It's there to serve the people and improve their living conditions. And of course, to strengthen the public operators, which are the majority of the service providers in terms of water and sanitation. The next slide, please. This slide gives you a quick overview about the global scale of the work of WOPs. We can see that nearly 41% of all the WOPs which have been undertaken have taken place and are taking place in the Asia-Pacific region, 35% in Africa, and then 18% in Latin America, and 3% in Europe, 2% in North America, and also 3% in the Asia-Pacific region. So really a global network of collaboration with 389 WOPs recorded in total and with a growing number. The next slide, please. And as you've heard, there are the regional platforms for GWOPR and for WOPs, and we have the AFWA covering the African region. We have Waterlinks for Asia, Southeast Asia, South and Southeast Asia. We have the Pacific Water Association and Wastewater Association covering the small island developing states. And of course, we have WOPLAC, and also we have the Caribbean WOPs as platforms. So these are the backbones, and we've heard from 3 speakers from these platforms actually speaking from their perspectives of these regions. The next slide, please. Some very quick data trends in terms of WOPs. And what we can see on the top left side is that really the number of WOPs are gradually increasing. And what we're also seeing is that the number of WOPs in terms of duration are also becoming longer over years. And a lot of the WOPs are also linked to increased funding. As you can see in the bottom side is bottom left side of the slide is that really increasing funding, domestic funding to support WOPs is coming up, as we've heard also from the previous speaker. So this is actually very encouraging. So it's not just external funding driven collaboration amongst utilities, but utilities and operators are actually mobilizing their own resources and investing into the WOPs. I think another very important dynamic and shift is also that there is more in terms of South-South cooperation, and showing that over the years capacity has been built in the South, and now these Southern operators are collaborating with other Southern operators, and of course also having triangular relationships and having feedback loops to other regions in the world. And another element, of course, which is very important is the leveraging connection to financing of the different WOPs, and this is becoming increasingly important. And of course, there is also interest from other actors such as the European EU WOPs program to start larger programs in terms of WOPs, which is also very encouraging to see. The next slide, please. Some of the other general observations, as mentioned, there are a number of new major WOPS programs coming up, such as the EU WOPS program, the Waterworks program of the Netherlands. National governments are also increasingly engaging into WOPS programs, such as Germany or Finland. And of course, what we're also seeing as an observation is that there is an increasing maturity in terms of WOPS, but also increasing complexity in terms of WOPS. And so to provide the guidance to the WOPS, having communities of practice, and also different themes for the partnerships. What we've also seen during COVID is that we can also go hybrid or even virtual in some of the WOPS, but of course, person-to-person contacts are still very important. But we've seen that we've sort of broken some boundaries here, and we've seen that hybrid models are possible. And of course, as we've also heard in earlier presentations, frontier technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality, can also play an increasing role in WOPS. And of course, the whole process of creating twins of utilities and operators, where we can simulate virtually how a utility operates, is also quite an exciting initiative in this. As mentioned also that connecting WOPS to investments and the financing, mobilizing financing, is specifically also looking at domestic financing, locally available financing for the utilities. And in terms of thematic focuses, of course, over the years since GWOPA has started, operation and maintenance has always been a top agenda issue through the years. But what is also increasingly coming up in the last years is to really focus on pro-poor services, and also looking at, in the context of circular economy, at the full water cycle within an operator's realm of work. The next slide, please. And just some of the mega trends or mega themes which are coming up. And of course, urbanization itself is a mega theme. And what we're seeing with rising urbanization is also rising inequalities. We heard in the example from Africa that 2.5 billion people will be living in Africa by 2050, and more than half, that's 1.25 billion people, will be living in cities. And most of the cities we'll be seeing at that time have actually not been built. So we actually have a great opportunity of bringing in these elements of sustainability and circular economy into the future cities to be built. And of course, also retrofitting the cities as we're dealing with the challenges to come of urbanization and densification. The second sort of mega trend, of course, is climate change. And of course, we have the COP coming up, and of course, the opportunities of addressing climate change in the context of utilities. We've seen more and more extreme weather events where either there is drought or there is oversupply of water and flooding, and how operators can actually respond to this and prepare for these unforeseen events. The third mega trend is really looking at freshwater pollution and how we can work on water quality monitoring and water quality improvements in our settlements, so that we avoid very exorbitant costs of treating the water, which is polluted. The next slide, please. The Secretary General, as we've also heard, has launched the Common Agenda. And in this Common Agenda, there are quite a number of elements and points which are of importance related to operators and where the operators can be contributing to. We understand the Secretary General will be starting and launching a high-level advisory group in this area, and there'll also be a summit planned for the Common Agenda. And one of the points is, of course, leave no one behind, and operators being really located at the local level where the work all has to be done, have actually an important contribution to make in leaving no one and no place behind in terms of access to water and sanitation, but also in terms of access to reliable services. The second focus area, which I think operators can contribute, is really to protect our planet. And here, managing water supply, sanitation, wastewater, but also solid waste management, resource recovery, and of course, climate resilience are important elements which operators can contribute into this area. Further mentioned in the Secretary General's Common Agenda is really to engage with women and to listen and work with youth. I think this is also a great opportunity in reaching out, and women, as we've heard, have an important role to play in terms of water and sanitation. Building trust is another focus of the Secretary General in this area. And of course, being public operators and water being a public good, I think there's a lot which operators and utilities can contribute in building public trust in our institutions and in our water supply and sanitation systems. Ensuring sustainable finance is a further focus. And here, having investable funding for the operators with locally available funding would be very important. And of course, to boost partnerships, I think this is a unique contribution which GWOPA and WOPS can contribute into public-to-public partnerships, and of course, to be prepared for unforeseen events. So these are just some of the focuses which the Secretary General has highlighted, and we feel that WOPS and GWOPA can really make a great contribution in this area of work. The next slide, please. And in closing, ladies and gentlemen, the strategy of GWOPA is well placed to address this, looking at area 1, which is guiding with knowledge in terms of WOPS, area 2 in enabling WOPS, and of course, mobilizing the alliance and having this movement grow, as we've heard. With this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. And Ushi, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, André, and thank you. Your report is very encouraging indeed. Now, dear participants, before we complete the ceremony, I would like to invite you to view a short video which gives an overview of the content and opportunities of the next 2 weeks. Please watch this Congress Outlook video. I call upon the technical team to show us the video. And afterwards, I will conclude the program. Can I hear somebody from the technical team? Are you showing the Congress Outlook video?
Yes, working out.
Okay.
Welcome to the 4th Global WOPS Congress. Over the next 2 weeks, we are coming together to learn, to share our stories, and to inspire one another to keep striving for sustainable and universal access to water and sanitation. No person, no organization or community can achieve this tremendous goal alone. It must be a collective effort. Collaboration and solidarity are at the heart of our Congress. Here, it's water and sanitation operators who are center stage. These are the ones with the knowledge, working on the front lines to deliver essential services, and innovating creative local solutions to overcome the pressing global challenges. This is their forum. The 4th Global WOPS Congress is travel-free and online from GWOPA's new home at the UN campus in Bonn. Over 1,000 participants will be gathering here in our virtual platform. Water Operators Partnerships and this Global Congress are all about creating meaningful connections. Here you can tell your untold stories, build allies, and get inspired. Your peers might be far away, but they're within reach. Our sessions are interactive, and the peer board in our virtual venue allows you to connect with colleagues around the world. The program is built on your priorities. These are the topics identified by our Global Alliance, and in over 10 days and more than 30 sessions, you can join us live or watch on demand. In main stage and regional sessions, we will see how utilities around the world are taking action and helping one another to improve services for their communities. The operators stage and side events are led by our partners who will host technical discussions, deliver training, or showcase new tools to support utilities. Let us make the most of this moment together to help more operators help each other. Enjoy the Congress.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, with this video, we are concluding our opening ceremony. And let us give a virtual applause to all our speakers. We invite you all to explore the Congress program and networking opportunities within the virtual venue. At this moment, I thank all the speakers. I thank you all for attending the 4th Global WOPS Congress and the opening and online from GWOPA at the UN campus in Bonn. And goodbye for now. Have a good day, a good night, a good morning. Ciao, everybody. Goodbye. It was a pleasure meeting you. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Wiedersehen.
To keep striving for sustainable and universal access to water and sanitation. No person, no organization or community can achieve this tremendous goal alone. It must be a collective effort. Collaboration and solidarity are at the heart of our Congress. Here, it's water and sanitation operators who are center stage. These are the ones with the knowledge, working on the front lines to deliver essential services, and innovating creative local solutions to overcome the pressing global challenges. This is their forum. The 4th Global WOPS Congress is travel-free and online from GWOPA's new home at the UN campus in Bonn. Over 1,000 participants will be gathering here in our virtual platform. Water Operators Partnerships and this Global Congress are all about creating meaningful connections. Here you can tell your untold stories, build allies, and get inspired. Your peers might be far away, but they're within reach. Our sessions are interactive, and the peer board in our virtual venue allows you to connect with colleagues around the world. The program is built on your priorities. These are the topics identified by our Global Alliance, and in over 10 days and more than 30 sessions, you can join us live or watch on demand. In main stage and regional sessions, we will see how utilities around the world are taking action and helping one another to improve services for their communities. The operators stage and side events are led by our partners who will host technical discussions, deliver training, or showcase new tools to support utilities. Let us make the most of this moment together to help more operators help each other. Enjoy the Congress.